Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about the roadmap that they showcased in the NGS headline because I've had a little bit more time to digest all the information. But before we jump into all of that, if you're new to the channel, I upload NGS content daily, so if you do play this game, I would really appreciate a subscribe as it really helps out the channel. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin the video. So the very first thing I want to go over is, of course, the roadmap itself. As we can see here is the second half of 2024 all the way up to early 2025, which goes up to March actually of next year. And this is the entire roadmap. However, something that I want to remind everyone that they didn't really mention in the NGS headline is the little asterisk over here saying the update content is limited to what can be released at present. We will add more information as soon as it becomes available. Also, please note that the content and implementation time are subject to change due to circumstances. A great example of this is the tech arts customization. This was actually supposed to come out in October to November. However, they pushed it back due to time constraints. So, it's not ready, so they're pushing it back. Now, with that little disclaimer out of the way, let us actually look at the roadmap itself. So to be perfectly honest with you guys, I am super happy for July. July looks absolutely amazing. Because of the PSO2 12th anniversary campaign, there are so many goodies going around. As we can see from this graphic, the Super Fantasy Festival, we're getting a bunch of freebies over here. Harriet is the new mascot girl for the 12th anniversary, so we're going to be able to get all her cosmetic items, tons of free star gems, as well as stamps. We're getting 100 free SG pulls, so that's also really nice. We're getting the 100 million EXP, which is absolutely insane. Use the Salon to Your Heart's Content campaign. Honestly, they should just make this permanent, but nevertheless, it comes in often enough that it's fine, but I would like them to make this permanent eventually. We get weekly rewards again. I was actually pretty surprised that they brought this back because the weekly rewards from the previous seasonal event was actually really dang good. We're getting the Super Casino campaign. However, unfortunately, you do need to download the base game for this, but it's actually a metric butt ton of star gems, so you really don't want to sleep on this. So if you don't have the base game installed yet, you kind of want to do that ASAP in order to receive all of these free star gems, unless of course you don't have the hard drive space. Then you can just skip this, I guess, but it is a substantial amount of star gems, just letting you guys know beforehand. Then we have the Super Treasure Scratch, which gives us a lot more cosmetic items that you can earn by simply playing the game. And then of course we have the Ultra PSO2 Day Infinite Burst, where if you're a premium member, you get an additional 7 days, which is actually crazy. And then on top of that, of course, we have the Super Item Enhancement Support campaign. So in the month of July, we have a ton of stuff to look forward to. And keep in mind, this is only the Super Fantasy Festival campaign itself. We actually have a lot more stuff going on. Sure, there's a bunch of limited time quests, so we can kind of just chalk them up and combine them together and be like, yeah, okay, there's new limited time quests, but we're getting the new dual quest as well. So new capsules, we're going to be able to craft more new stuff again. We're getting the limited time urgent quest re-release of Halfia Lake Counterattack Part 2, also known as Dark Falls Aegis. We're also getting the TCG Lion Strike, the Eminence and Shadow collaboration, as well as new ranks of the Purple Battle Dia Alio. So the month of July is absolutely amazing. It's jam-packed with a ton of events, a ton of stuff to do. So for the very first month in the roadmap, things are looking really, really promising because we have a lot of really nice events. There's a lot of stuff to do, and I'm very excited for next month. However, when we move onwards, so from July 31st all the way to September, so this is basically going to be August as well as September, so the next 2 months. Sure, we're getting a bunch of content over here, but the main selling point is going to be the new action system Mars. This is the big hitter for these 2 months, and this actually releases on July 31st. Now from the Dengeki article, we already know that the new action system Mars is going to have its own separate skill tree, and we are going to need to farm for materials in order to level up the skill tree to unlock more abilities to make the Mars system stronger and stronger. And in order to farm for all these materials, we're going to need to farm in the LaCiel exploration. Since they're expanding it, so there's going to be new ways to farm it, I suppose, or new maps. Probably not really a new map, since, it's just kind of a grid system with randomized biomes. But I do think that they're probably going to add in twists and turns here and there, and maybe add in like 1 or 2 new gameplay mechanics just to make it a little bit more interesting, since we are going to be able to use the new action system in LaCiel exploration. There's no limitation on where we cannot use the Mars action system. We can use this in every single game mode. So at least that's what they said in the Dengeki article, as well as the 4Gamer article. So I'm looking forward to trying this in Lucille Exploration, in the Nameless City, in Ordinal Tower, in the Limited Time Quest, in Crimson Realm. We're going to be able to use the Mars action system in all of these game modes. Even the ultra high difficulty party quest, we will be able to use it there. So I am looking forward to this system, and I think this is going to be the main selling point. The things that I'm a little bit concerned about is going to be, this is a span of 2 months, so from August to September, 2 full months. All we're getting is new high rank in Alio. To be honest, I'm not very thrilled about this, because if we take a look at Alio right now, we're already at rank 5 of Vanguard Laboratories, rank 5 of Mount Magnus, rank 4 of Rezel Forest. We've had 5 rotations, okay, not exactly 5 rotations, more like 3 rotations or 2 rotations, but we've done this cycle before. We've seen this dance played out, where we're going all the way back to all of the regions, we're doing another full rotation, so forth and so on, and that just doesn't really excite me. Like, sure, when they released the new rank 4 at the very beginning, that was the introduction of the starless enemies in Rezel Forest. That was pretty interesting to begin with, because, you know, you were like, oh wow, there's new mobs, and there was like new mechanics. I believe they added like the little flowers that would explode in Rezel Forest. That was cool and all, but it's the same map, it's the same thing. It gets very stale very quickly. So I'm not exactly super thrilled that they're just adding more ranks. You know, are we eventually going to get rank 10 of Rezel Forest and rank 11 of Vanguard Laboratories, so forth and so on? I would much rather have them add like ultimate quest from the base game as a permanent game mode in the quest menu over here, or from the quest counter, where you can just queue up and just join and just kill enemies there over and over and over, and then just update the loot pool every month there, as well as do like a weekly rotation or even a daily rotation. And I think that would be so much more interesting than just adding another rank in the combat zone, because the majority of players who are farming for efficiency, they're not going to go to the highest rank. They're going to go to Retem Al Noth at rank 1 or rank 3 or whatever, where they can one-shot mobs. They're going to go all the way here to Dex Base, where they can farm for Raw Meseta. You know, they're all about efficiency. So I don't really understand the appeal anymore of combat zones. Personally, I enjoy combat zones. Don't get me wrong. I am fine farming here mindlessly, drooling over my keyboard and just making money that way, because I enjoy the grind. To me, it's very therapeutic. It's kind of like grinding in Diablo, where I just turn my brain off, I just go off and I just kill enemies over and over and over on autopilot. So for me personally, I'm okay with this. However, I understand that 90%, if not more, of the community is not okay with this. They can grind for like 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then they're bored out of their minds and they can't grind anymore. So I really think Sega needs to understand what the community kind of wants and kind of steer towards there. I feel like when they first introduced Lucille Exploration with the LC capsules, that was a huge W. A lot of people were very motivated to farm Lucille Exploration, and since there were puzzles, there was a mix of like everything, so it was interesting, and it changed every single day, so it didn't get stale as quickly. Now, eventually it does get stale. Like for me right now, I don't run Lucille Exploration. I haven't run it in like 3 months because I'm so sick of it. However, something that Sega could do to make me unsick of this game would be adding some loot that I need or that I would want in order to superpower my account even further, maybe make myself even stronger. So a great example is, of course, the new action system Mars. When this comes in, I'm going to be super motivated to run Lucille Exploration again, because I need to run it in order to level up the action system in order to get stronger with this new system, so that I can actually start clearing content even faster. So I'm super motivated, and there's a reason why I want to play Lucille Exploration now. However, in the current version of the game, there's no reason for me to run Lucille Exploration other than for this one singular weapon camo. Like, I don't need LC capsules, I don't need growth mint, I don't need any more of these TA customization discs, I don't need the Aina armor, I don't need the Zova weapons. There's a lot of bloat and outdated gear in Lucille Exploration, which just kind of makes you feel like you're wasting your time when you're running it, because 99% of the time, all of the stuff that you get is absolutely useless. So, you know, I just don't have motivation to run it, because you're farming for that 0.001% of getting a singular item out of, like, you know, 20 items. So it's kind of like, I'd rather not waste my time. The next piece of content I want to talk about is the Nameless City Exploration expansion. I do believe this is going to be the third part of Nameless City. So remember where I said it kind of looks like Central City, it's like a hub looking area. I think that's what's going to be released in this expansion. Then we have the Ordinal Tower expansion. I'm actually pretty interested in this. The Ordinal Tower is fun for the first couple of runs. However, I do want to see what they're expanding on. Again, it's kind of going to be loot centric, as the runs themselves are kind of the same. You know, you do get to pick what bosses you want to fight in the Ordinal Tower, which is pretty interesting and pretty cool. And there are hidden bosses in the Ordinal Tower as well. So it does have that level of customizability. So, you know, if you're playing a Braver, there are certain bosses that you might want to avoid and certain bosses that you prefer, versus other classes where, you know, you might have different preferences. And so you can take different routes in order to fight very specific bosses in the Ordinal Tower. So I did like the Ordinal Tower, but something that I want them to pay attention to is going to be the rewards, because the very first time you run Ordinal Tower and when you clear it, you got a weapon series. This was at the very beginning when Ordinal Tower was first released, and it was amazing. You know, it was 100% worth running the Ordinal Tower once on every single class so that you got all of these free weapons as well as free armors. However, after you finished your initial run with every single class, there was no reason to run Ordinal Tower anymore unless you were going for cosmetic looks, and the drop rate for those were awfully low as well. So we're gonna have to wait and see what the expansion actually is. I just hope that they don't drop the ball on this, and I do hope that it is gonna be worth our time running. Next up is the ultra high difficulty party quest. This is probably just going to be like, you know, Dark Falls Aegis or something, like another Dark Falls Aegis, Dark Falls Solus, or Dark Falls Dalian. One of those three. They're probably just going to update it and give us an even higher rank or whatever. So I'm not super worried about this because these are always really fun. I feel like Dark Falls in this game has always been pretty solid. Every time there's a new Dark Falls, it's always been a really fun game mode. The only thing that is holding them back as usual is the loot itself, you know? Like currently with the Dark Falls Solus rank 2, it's a fun boss, it's a fun game mode, I like running it, but it's not worth running it, you know? There's no real loot. So you're only running it for your dailies, or you're running it for self-satisfaction because you want to run it and you're having fun running it. But for the loot itself, it's absolutely doo-doo. So there's like no reason to run it if you actually are trying to farm for something or progress your character or try to get stronger. It's kind of a waste of time, or it's very inefficient. Then, of course, we've got a bunch of limited time quests. We're just going to skip over that. But then we have the Alio Crimson Realm. We're finally expanding out of Kavaris for Crimson Realm, and we're hitting Alio. I'm sure they're going to add a bunch of different starless enemies as well, and just kind of make it cool and interesting. I don't really know how they're going to tie this into the story, if there's going to be any story at all, because that's something that also really bothered me. There's actually no story. If we look here from August to September, October to November, December to January, February to March, there is no indication of any story under quests over here, as well as combat. There's just nothing. It doesn't talk anything. There's no story at all. So I am very concerned about that, because the story was finally building up. You know, I think this time the initial drop of the story of us going to the Nameless City and finding out who the new big bad is, you know, that was super cool. There was a huge buildup. The story was very satisfying, and it's like, yes, Sega, keep up the good work. You know, keep the momentum going. We're going towards brighter future. However, then there's this huge gap. This is what, like 9 months where there's no story. I don't think Sega should do this. Having such a long gap of no story is definitely an issue. Like, I don't know any game that has taken like a 9-month break on story and then suddenly giving you like another 30 minutes of story, or like an hour or two of story. Like that's just messed up. That's really, really messed up. And that has me very concerned, because I'm like, what happened now? So like, you know, did the story writers like get fired or something? Like, why don't we have any indication of story for the next 9 months? The thing is, the story was so good. They were finally building up to something. You know, we waited 3 years of just blah, 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 blah. And it's like, oh, finally, we're building up to something. You know, now we're getting somewhere. And yeah, they're taking a 9-month break or something. This feels worse than the Hunter x Hunter hiatuses on the manga, where I have to wait like a year for a single chapter. So I'm just hoping that they forgot to add that in, or you know, it's subject to change and they don't know when they're going to be adding in the story, and hopefully that they add it in like December to January or October to November, and they'll like update it when it's ready and just slot that in and be like, oh yeah, there's going to be a new story here and there. I'm not crossing my fingers or holding my breath for it, but I hope that is the case, because if we really wait 9 months for another 30 minutes or another hour of story, that would be pretty sad. Unless they're going the World of Warcraft route, where it's like, yeah, we only update the story once a year, but it's like a gigantic expansion and it's like several hours worth of content to do. I think the new World of Warcraft had like, I don't know, it's like 30 hours of story or something crazy like that. So, you know, they could go that route, but I highly doubt it. I don't think Sega is capable of doing 30 hours of story. Like, if we combine the entire story of NGS right now together, it's less than 30 hours. So if they couldn't do it in 3 years, I doubt they can do it in 9 months. But that's enough of me being negative for now. We're moving back to August to September. You know, the new action system Mars. Again, this is what I said I'm super excited about, and I believe most people are excited about. I'm very surprised about this though. We're getting new cards in Line Strike again. Like, Line Strike literally just releases next month in July, and like a month later we're getting new cards. A little bit iffy over here. I'm kind of thinking like, okay, is Sega just gonna make this into like a new cash cow, where it's like, oh yeah, every month we're gonna get new cards in the AC scratch, and we are gonna need to scratch for it in order to participate or be competitive in this card game, blah blah blah. So I am a little bit concerned on how quickly they're adding new cards, but who knows, maybe it's a needed patch or something they've been working on and they just broke it up into like 3 different parts or something. But yeah, there's that. Then of course we had the collaborations. We already know the anime based on the light novel over here. This collaboration is the Shangri-La Frontiers. So that looks really, really good. I know a lot of people are going to try to cosplay as Sunraku, as well as playing Twin Daggers. So I'm glad that Twin Daggers are going to get a lot of love because of an anime, you know, this collaboration. So that's going to be really, really nice to see. As for the next one, the anime based on a shonen manga, I don't really know what this is. Again, I'm still crossing my fingers, either Demon Slayer or Bleach. That would be nice if it was either of those. But then again, with the Eminence in Shadow, Shangri-La Frontiers, as well as if we do get Demon Slayer or Bleach, my wallet can't survive that. I'm gonna be absolutely broke because of these 3 collaborations. Now, I understand some people are like, Kero, this is just a dress-up simulator now. There's nothing else to do in this game other than to spend money and buy outfits and just dress up your characters and make them look cool or pretty with gigantic booba. And my response to that is, you can play NGS however you want. You can be a lobby rat, you can be a fashionista, you can be a creative space guru, you can be a min-maxer, you can be a speedrunner. The way that the game is designed is it's so casual and it caters to all of these different playstyles that yes, what you're saying is true. You know, it is a dress-up simulator if that is what you're looking for. However, you can also rock the default outfit and not buy a single cosmetic and just use the free cosmetics that you get and still look okay. You can still look pretty damn awesome. You can look like Gora. Gora looks really awesome, at least in my personal opinion. You can look like all the different NPCs for free simply by just playing the game and by just using all of the free cosmetic items. That way you can allocate all of your resources into gear if that's something that you want to do to become a speedrunner, to become a min-maxer, or into your creative spaces so that you can make your creative space look even prettier, so forth and so on. At the end of the day, you decide how you want to play the game. If you want to play it as a dress-up simulator, that you play it as a dress-up simulator. If you want to play it as a min-maxer, as a speedrunner, you play it as a speedrunning game or as a min-maxer. The game doesn't force you to play a very specific way. It's the player base that determines what type of playstyle is going to be predominant in the meta, the quote-unquote meta. And so, you know, you're not wrong, but it doesn't mean that everyone's playing dress-up simulator. That's really all I can say. Because personally, I don't play dress-up simulator that much. I usually have 1 to 2 looks and I'm just like, all right, I call it a day. I'm done for the year. And then I just grind for materials as well as Meseta so that I can fully max out my character, because that's how I like to play the game. I'm a min-maxer. The moment I min-max my character, I hit big number, that gives me satisfaction. And so at the end of the day, it's really up to you. You decide how you want to play the game. Don't look at me. I don't know how you want to play the game. All right. But moving back to the topic at hand, that is, of course, the roadmap, we are now moving to October to November. So we're getting the Halloween event, so hopefully this is going to be awesome. You know, it's going to be another seasonal event. I don't think it's going to be as awesome as the 12th anniversary. It's going to be very difficult to top this, but you know, it's going to have a bunch of freebies as usual, so that's going to be very nice. But moving on to quests, we are getting the new high ranks in Stia. Again, I have the exact same thoughts as with Alio. It's just another high rank, nothing crazy. But the thing about Stia is we do have Nuisance Plant. Nuisance Plant was pretty interesting in the sense that it could spawn all different types of enemies and it does rotate after every PSE burst. So that was pretty interesting. So I might give that a chance. But this really turns me off. Limited time quest times 5, limited time urgent quest times 2, and then limited time Stia Crimson Realm. You know, Crimson Realm's pretty cool, but this just kind of sucks, you know? We're getting 5 more limited time quests as well as 2 more limited time urgent quests. It's kind of like, oh, okay, great. So October to November is looking incredibly weak compared to July as well as August to September. You know, these months looked really promising because there was a lot of content, new systems coming in, as well as just a lot of freebies, as well as the 12th anniversary. You know, it just looked really jam-packed over here. And then now when we're coming to October and November, we're losing steam. You know, it's like Sega gave up all the content that they prepared and they're running out of content in October and November. Now, there is a silver lining over here. And the silver lining is, of course, we got the Tekker expansion. So for all of my Tekker players out there, you guys can be excited for that. We're getting the class level cap increase to level 95. I don't know how I feel about this. Like, yes, level cap increase, that's always good, but what are they going to do with it? When we got the level cap increase to level 90, there's literally nothing new. Like, I think, okay, well, I guess we got like a new augment slot because we can enhance our weapons even further, as well as our armors, which was pretty nice because, you know, for me at least as a min-maxer, I really enjoyed that, being able to get even stronger, adding more augments, so forth and so on. But I don't think they're going to be able to do another augment slot at 95. I would be very surprised if they did, because we know that, you know, our weapons can go up to 8 augment slots already. Like, that's like the quote-unquote potential maximum, and currently we're already at 7 augments. I think we're going to get another augment slot at level 100. I think this is when they're going to unlock another augment slot and give us 8 augments. But the main thing that I'm excited for is the new item lab feature. So what they said in the NGS headline is we're going to be able to farm for certain weapon series, and we're going to be able to use those weapon series as material to create different weapons or create better weapons. So this is going to be very similar to Ziggs. This is what I'm assuming they're talking about. It's going to be like Ziggs in the base game. So you farm for all of these weapon series, you combine them together, and then you make a greater weapon. So for example, in the base game, there was the Atlas weapon. You got the Atlas weapon and then you farmed a bunch of different parts, and then you combined them all together and you made an Atlas EX weapon, which had like a new weapon potential, and it was like stronger than the Atlas weapon, and it had like a bunch of bonuses on top of it. So basically you kept everything that you had on the Atlas weapon, but it just became better. It increased in rarity, it became stronger, it got a better weapon potential, and overall it just became a stronger weapon. Now, they did mention in the NGS headline that the new item lab feature will contain weapons and armors. So that has me a little bit excited. I hope that they don't mess this up, and I hope that this gives a reason for players to farm more different types of content in order to get all of these different bits in order to make their weapons even stronger, and hopefully still provide enough customizability so that it shakes up the meta. Because with the introduction of the EX augments, it really shaked up the meta in the sense that, hey, you don't have to go just pure potency anymore, or pure floor potency, or whatever. It just made it different. Instead of just focusing on just damage, there was a lot more options. So I do hope that with the new item lab feature, they don't funnel everyone into like, oh yeah, you have to get this weapon, you have to focus on these stats because this weapon's weakness is so XYZ, and so you need to compensate for that. Like, I really hope that they give us full reign and a lot of freedom so that you can build the class however you want and have a lot of flexibility. But this is pretty much the only silver lining for October to November. Like, the actual quote-unquote quests over here, none of this excites me at all. So it's gonna be this stuff right here that is gonna be carrying me. And even the collaboration, we're getting the Idola NGS collab too. Like, okay, that we might get some booba and some cool stuff over there, I suppose. And then we have like question mark over here. I don't know why they did this, but yeah, so we're getting an unknown collaboration. So for me, I think the weakest month is going to be October to November. These 2 months are going to be the weakest unless the new item lab feature is like absolutely insane. But, you know, I think this is going to be a slog over here. These 2 months are going to be very difficult to get through. But moving on to December to January of 2025, we have the NGS 3.5-year anniversary. This is going to be great. You know, they've always done these anniversary events really, really well, giving a ton of freebies and just encouraging people to play the game as well as to return to the game, as well as a lot of catch-up mechanics. So, you know, anniversaries are always great since they don't really mess these up that badly. But moving on to the important part, which is of course the quest. So we're getting a new type of high difficulty solo quest. So I'm just gonna spill the beans over here, but this is Masquerade. For my friends who have never played the base game, Masquerade is a solo piece of content where you just 1v1 this boss. So the boss's name is Masquerade. You spawn into an arena. He's standing in the middle of the arena. You go kill him. When you defeat him, you get to go down to the next floor of the arena. And the arena goes all the way down to 999. Each floor that you progress, he gets harder and harder, and he also gets new movesets. But on top of that, the loot gets progressively better as well. But the reason why people did this content was to get to level 999, and when you completed it, you got a title. And that was kind of like the badge of honor to let everyone know that, hey, I soloed this boss, I cleared this piece of content, and I'm good at the game, and I know how to play my class. It was kind of like a badge of honor. And so this was really, really cool and very satisfying to watch a lot of pros play this, and a lot of people who are masters of their class clear 999. Because when you get to floor 999, like, this boss literally one-shots you, right? You had to play perfectly, and it had like a billion HP or multiple billions of HP. So it was a very long fight. You needed to min-max your damage because there's a timer as well. But you also needed like full mastery so that you could dodge all his attacks, counter everything, and just avoid all damage. But nevertheless, it was a super cool boss fight because it was just a showcase of skill. And so personally, I have no qualms with this. You know, I would rather have this over Dual Quest, and this will be replacing Dual Quest, which is really nice. I just don't know how many floors are going to be adding on the initial release. Then we have the limited time quest ×2. Again, I'm not super interested about this. Then we have the limited time quest Nameless City Exploration Expansion. This could be interesting depending on how they handle it. I don't know if we're going into space, going into different biomes, flying to different planets. I don't know if any of that's going to happen this soon. It would be nice if it did. I mean, it's not really soon. December to January, that's like another, what, 6 months. So hopefully we do go out of space already or something. But then again, as I said earlier, or as I was complaining earlier, there's no story. We need some sort of story to tie into going to a new planet, right? We can't just immediately just poof, oh yeah, we're on a new planet now without any dialogue or any expose or anything, you know, that would just be super, super weird. Then we're getting another limited time urgent quest. So the problem here is limited time, limited time, limited time. Like why are they all limited time? Why don't we just get more permanent stuff over here? Why does everything have to be limited time? I don't really understand that, and it's bothering me a little bit. But moving on to the combat, we are getting the Tech Arts customization expansion. This is something that I really want because, you know, we all have just one PA left to customize. So this is going to be really, really good to see. Then we're getting new cards in Line Strike. Again, you know, I'm sure, I suppose. And then we're getting a collaboration from a game from another company. But then moving on to February to March, we're getting the Spring 2025 seasonal event. I'm not going to be surprised about anything about this. Then we're getting the Urgent Quest Colossal Boss Suppression. This looks pretty promising. Like, you know, it's Colossal Boss now. So I'm pretty excited about this with the silhouette looking over here. It looks like it's like a abomination of all the different Starless parts slapped together or something. So I am pretty excited for this urgent quest. Then on top of that, we get the Lucille exploration expansion. This looks really good again because more Lucille exploration expansion. Since Lucille exploration is one of the good permanent game modes that they added into the game, they just haven't updated it in so long that it's just kind of phased out of the meta. Like nobody wants to run it anymore. I went on a full rant earlier in the video, so I'm not going to punish you guys with another rant, but you guys know how I feel about this. It's going to boil down to the loot and like, why should I do it? There needs to be a reason to entice me to run Lucille exploration. Then again, limited time quest times 4. I don't understand why. Limited time, limited time, limited time, limited time, limited time. Everything is limited time. I don't understand what is, like, why? Why? So, yeah. Again, February to March is too far in the pipeline to have any initial thoughts. I want to say it's just, yeah, they have the colossal boss suppression. That's the main thing to be excited for. Lucille exploration expansion, this looks good, but other than that, you know, nothing too crazy. As for combat, you know, level cap increase to level 100. That's pretty nice if they add in some more stuff. You know, is our armors and our weapons, are we going to be able to get the augment slot? Are we going to be able to enhance it to like what, level 150 now, or 120, or just 110? Like, you know, are we going to be able to enhance our weapons even further? And then of course we're getting another collaboration, so yeah, it's okay. So in conclusion, how do I feel about the roadmap? The first couple months look very promising. It looks very front loaded. You know, I have no real issues with July. July is really good. In August to September, it looks okay, like it's acceptable. I'm not gonna rip them a new butthole because of this, because it's okay. However, October all the way to March is looking really weak, right? Like there's only a couple things I'm excited for. There's the 3.5-year anniversary, there's the Masquerade, there's the Tech Art expansion, as well as the new item lab, as well as the new Tech Arts customization. Like that's pretty much the only things I'm excited for like what, there's like 6 months over here. Well, I mean, I guess colossal boss suppression as well. So like it's not a lot of things to be excited for in 6 months, you know? So I am a little bit concerned from October onward, and I do hope that when we get closer to these dates that there will be more added over here, as they said with a little asterisk that things are all subject to change. And I really hope that it doesn't backfire and it's like, oh yeah, we can't do the Ordinal Tower, we gotta move that to the next month, and they delay a bunch of things. That would be really tragic if they did that, but it is possible since, you know, everything is subject to change to the roadmap. But overall, I don't know. I don't really know what to say, guys. Like, you guys heard me rant already for, I don't know how long this video is, like 20, maybe 30 minutes already. And, you know, it's really just the first 2 months or the first 3 months look really nice. You know, it's very front loaded. So for now, I'm just going to ignore everything from October onwards and just pretend that I didn't see this, call that copium maybe, and I'm just going to focus on the first 2 to 3 months and be like, oh yeah, the Evidence of Shadow, oh yeah, Shangri-La Frontiers, oh yeah, all of this content. I'm just going to focus on that and enjoy myself. And then when it comes to October and onwards, when we get there, we'll cross that bridge together.
Special thanks to all the members for supporting the channel. It really means a lot to me. Thank you again.
But yeah, that's all I wanted to cover in today's video. Hopefully you guys found it helpful. If you did, I would appreciate a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.